Hey, what's going on, everybody? There is a lot to get to today with the open scrimmage at Hard Rock Stadium. Fans were allowed to attend, reporters were allowed to attend. It went for a couple hours, a good number of plays, a lot of the first, second, third units. We got to see 4 different quarterbacks take reps there. I want to get into some statistical things that I have tallied up from the 11-on-11 work. And they did the traditional scrimmage, moving up and down the field. They also stopped it and kind of placed the ball at the 30 for a few times, and then also some red zone stuff, and then it concluded with a 2-minute drill. Now we'll get into that. And as far as my statistics go, these are all unofficial, nothing provided by UM, but the way I tallied it, as long as it was 11-on-11 work, and I'm gonna have all these stats on InsideTheU.com. We'll have defensive stats on the website as well, but as long as it was 11-on-11, I counted it. And just starting with Tyler Van Dyke, 13 for 23 for 194 yards, a touchdown and an interception. The touchdown was a great throw to Colby Young, pass interference on the play. Colby did a great job, 25-yard score, coming down with it, high pointing the ball. Colby had 5 touchdowns a year ago, and I know when I just talked to him at Media Day, he really wants to build on this year. You know, less than 400 yards last year, and he did have those 2 big games over 100 yards, but the way it ended last year with 5 games, you know, under 50 yards, he definitely wants to have that consistency and production. His goals are reaching the NFL, and he wants to have a really good season. He's trimmed down a little bit, 210 pounds is what he wants to play at. Says he's about 212 right now. But I thought it's great because you always want receivers to high point the ball in red zone type opportunities, again, from 25 yards out. He made a great leaping catch, a great touchdown throw and catch there, so that was great to see from the offense. The interception, it came in the end zone as well. Darryl Porter picked off Tyler, so that was disappointing. Just a good pick by Darryl, but a bad throw by Tyler. So one of 2 interceptions on the day. Walk-on Jaden George had the other one as well for the quarterbacks. Moving right along with the quarterbacks, you know, and I think this is going to be interesting because Jakari Brown, this is his 2nd straight open scrimmage performance where he's not had a lot of production. You know, the spring game didn't go great for him. And again, today, he goes 7-16 for 57 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He just couldn't move the ball up and down the field the way you would like. Had some drops in there. The receivers did have some drops, but there were some errant throws as well, either throwing high or behind receivers. So just in general, Jakari's just got to find a way to be more productive in the passing game. So he was primarily obviously working with that 2nd unit. Again, he did pick it up towards the end, which was good to see. He did have that nice 23-yard catch to Michael Redding. And Michael Redding III led the receivers. He had 5 catches for 83 yards and primarily had a great connection with Emery Williams. He had a drive where he had 3 catches on the drive. Emery did well. And I'm not saying Emery's going to pass Jakari, but Emery continues to do better in these scenarios. And Emery today, 7 of 8 for 87 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Did a great job commanding that 3rd unit. And again, you're going against the 3rd-team defense. However, you also have a 3rd-team offense. So it's whoever is out there competing with you, and it's not just who you go up against. And Emery continues to be productive, which is a good sign. And I think just with Jakari, he's just got to find a way. You know, he's got to find a way to be more productive. And his runs, he got sacked a few times. He didn't get loose in the running game today. So it's just something that he's got to be better at. And hopefully by the next scrimmage, it comes up for him that he actually performs better, has better production. Because certainly, you know, right now, you know, he's 1 snap away, and we know what happened last year with Tyler, and we know Jakari did get in there last year. So he just has to find a way to be more productive with the wide receivers. And I thought this was good. I touched on the Colby Young catch was great. He had 3 catches for 44 yards. Jacoby George, you know, settling in on that 1st unit. You know, and I've said before, you know, I think Tyler Harrell is certainly definitely can threaten that spot. He can be Miami's 3rd receiver. Tyler didn't have the production today, and Jacoby had the nice catch on the opening drive. He goes 3 catches for 39 on the day, but he had that nice 23-yard catch, and he's doing a good job yards after catch. He took advantage of the opportunities he was given, and he just did well. You know, Jacoby real smooth today. And then Restrepo, he had the longest catch of the day, and that was their starting receivers with Colby, Jacoby, and Xavier, which is what it's been since really the spring and again most of the fall, even though some other guys have gotten 1st-team work. But Restrepo, I thought it was good because he only had 1 catch, but he made it count. 46 yards down the middle of the field. It was great. It looked like a deep ball that might go overthrown, but Xavier did a good job of coming down with it And I think that's a good sign for Xavier because, yes, he's been productive with catches, but typically it's been a lot of shorter catches or intermediate stuff. And sometimes his catch radius hasn't been great. And this was an excellent job of adjusting to the ball and coming down with a diving catch. And he did a great job. So the 46-yard catch, it put him in position to get a touchdown there. And Miami did good with its scores inside the red zone. And it was just the one passing touchdown today by the offense, but they did have 2 rushing scores, both by freshman Mark Fletcher. And I think without question, look, he finished with just 1 run over 10 yards of his 8 carries. It went for 12 yards and a touchdown. His other touchdown went for 5 yards. So it went for 8 yards actually. So not big touchdown runs, but the fact that he was able to shed blocks on one and get a score, and the other one just sliced up the middle, uncontested, and got in there. But I think without question, Mark is certainly in the mix, and I think that was a big takeaway for me today is with what Mark Fletcher did, and then A.J. Allen was one of the stars of the offense, 7 carries, or maybe the star of the offense, 7 carries, 91 yards. He gets his day started with a 44-yard run. Really showed good chunk yardage throughout the day, showing his speed, and Coach Cristobal just mentioned that he really likes AJ's explosion that he has shown in practice recently. We've talked about him quite a bit at Nebraska. I know didn't want him to leave. And AJ, I think, without question, after today, I think everyone has to put AJ squarely in the mix, and I think not just in the mix to be one of their top 2 or 3 guys, but I think he's got a chance to be Miami's starter at running back. Mark Fletcher as well. And I think with those 2, with how they performed today, how things we've been hearing about how things have gone in practice, I think without question Henry Parrish has to be on notice. I think Henry will still get the first crack to be Miami's starting running back. However, if he's not producing, whether it's in-game or game-to-game, A.J. Allen and Fletcher will certainly be in there. And the reason why I'm not mentioning Don Cheney Jr. today just wasn't one of those highly productive days where you saw Fletcher get in the end zone, you saw AJ with the big runs, you saw Cheney kind of working with that 3rd unit, and it just seems like right now, if I had to guess, he's actually behind those guys. And I think that's going to surprise a lot of people that think, Cheney's going to have one of these big seasons coming off the 2 years of being hurt. But he's got a lot more to show, and today wasn't one of those days. He does go 9 carries, 42 yards. He did have a nice 17-yard run, but it was his only run over 10 yards. So, again, these things are great for production. What are you guys doing? And certainly there's a lot of factors in it in terms of production. But producing it in these kind of environments, I feel like is so important for the guys in position battles. 2 other key position battles I do want to touch on. I've done a lot of stuff on the offense right now, but 2 positions I want to really pay attention to. I really do think Louisville transfer KJ Cloyd does have the upper hand right now over Wesley Bassane at weak side linebacker. I certainly think Francisco Malinois is right there in the middle. I think he's going to certainly start. I think he is going to be Miami's middle linebacker this year. And I just think with KJ, I thought KJ did a good job showing some physicality, some ranginess on getting to some runs. Not everything was perfect with the defense in terms of giving up some big plays, both on the ground, those 10 to 20 yard runs, and then also through the air. There were some 20 plus passes given up. So they've got some work to do to kind of trim those down. The other position battle I've been trying to talk about recently, and that's Jakari Brown at cornerback. Look, I'm surprised that Damari's done this well in terms of what they've brought back and the experience, but he started on the first unit at cornerback. Freshman corner with good size. He had a nice pass breakup. He did give up about a 15-yard catch earlier, but he had a really nice pass breakup, and I think they're just going to continue to stick with him. Porter did have the interception, so that's a good sign on Porter's case. Couch got beat on the deep ball to Restrepo, so not good for Couch there. But Jakari Brown and Devontae Brown was on the other side, so if you're looking at freshmen that can make an impact, there's 6 of them, and Jakari, without a question, certainly looks to be one of them. Another freshman that started and highly productive today was Ruben Bain. No surprise. I think he's going to make a big impact because, look, whenever Ruben's on the field, he makes plays. And I saw him at defensive end. I saw him at defensive tackle. They like the position flexibility with Ruben. Again, he was productive. You like that. I think he's going to continue to challenge for playing time, and I think he's going to play a lot. I think he's definitely going to be right there on that 2 deep. I think the guys in front of him have to be aware that Ruben's definitely coming, and you've got to produce because Ruben is definitely going to produce when he's out there on the field, which is going to earn more trust. I think he's going to get better as the year goes on. Today, once again, good to see that he was out there with that first unit when they got started. And then the other freshman, you know, I'm not talking about him too often because he's just been supplanted on the first unit, and you're expecting a good season out of him. And I think with these other position groups, they're more in position battles. But Francis Mauinoa, their right tackle, started once again. He's on that first unit. I expect him to be the starter this year. And I think, you know, just another solid day, and I think he's going to continue to build on it. So I don't want to disregard or not talk about someone doing so well. It's just that you're expecting that from him kind of day in and day out. And once again, I think it was a good day for him. I think it's going to be a good season for him, and they definitely need him. First team offensive line was the same. Matt Lee at center, and then also at right guard, and that's Cooper left guard. It was the same also with Javion Cohen, the left tackle Jalen Rivers. I do want to make a little bit of a note on some guys that weren't out here that didn't dress, or it was a little tricky watching these guys because some of them fully dressed out, but watching them, they didn't warm up. So I wrote an article on the website saying they're not expected to play, and they did not play. So kind of separating the two groups in terms of guys that didn't dress out at all. And the big one to me is Akeem Mesidor. You know, dealt with some injuries last year, but we hadn't heard or seen anything to make us believe that he's going to miss time in fall camp based on the previous practices. But he didn't dress out, but he was out there, but I didn't see anything noticeable from him, whether it was a brace or a limp or anything like that. So that is a positive, that it didn't seem to be anything too serious. And then also maybe some notables, I've touched on it before, but you know, Chris Johnson didn't dress out, Zion Nelson didn't dress out, Elijah Arroyo did dress out but did not participate. Same way with Isaiah Horton. You know, Jonathan Dennis was a guy that actually did both. Dressed out at one point, and then before the scrimmage started, he was back in his workout clothes. So that's something to be watching too. And Dennis, you know, earned those spot starts at center last year, but dealt with the knee injury, and he's the backup center. So with Ryan Rodriguez in there, if anything happens to Matt Lee, you know, Rodriguez, who also played some guard today, you know, he just has to play well, because these guys that are right there on that second unit, you're one play away. You know, I touched on Jakari earlier, but offensive line, same thing. I think tight end with Arroyo, it's not the fact that he's still kind of being slowed and worked his way back. The thing with Arroyo is you're expecting him to have a great season because he has shown the athletic ability that he has flashed, the playmaking ability. And for me, it's not just that he's going to be out there, but he's got to be close to 100%. And I don't know if he's going to do that when the season begins. They're just working him along slowly. So I think that could be something to pay attention to. It's just that tight end production. If Arroyo's not at full strength, McCormick gives him something. He was out there today. Jaleel Skinner, haven't seen enough out of him to make me think he's going to be a highly productive player this season. But that's something to watch for. So again, these are my quick notes. I got all full stats. I got all the rushing, all the offensive stats, and we will have defensive stats as well. I'm going to break it down too, because like I said, there was some 7-on-7 work, which I didn't even include on my stats. There were some things there as well. Basically, Tyler did well. Emery was just okay, and Jakari didn't perform real well on that either, threw a pick in his 3 attempts. So a lot more to get to. Definitely stay tuned. We are told as of now not going to have availability on Sunday. Not sure what that means moving forward. It's just kind of a day-to-day. We kind of get the news essentially the day before. But stay tuned to the channel. Definitely stay locked into the website on InsideTheU.com. I just want to personally thank again everybody that came up to me today, had some good chats, some hellos. It's nice to put some faces to the people that have shown a lot of support. So I want to thank you for doing that. It's great talking with people and saying hello. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day, and take care.